Hey there guys, how's it going? So, let's talk a little bit about last night's travesty that took place in Las Vegas. Wasn't going to do a video about the fight, and this isn't really a review or anything like that because I haven't seen the fight. I've only seen the ending of the fight, the final round. So obviously I can't give you guys a thorough breakdown, and I wouldn't even put myself through that shit because yeah, I was never gonna watch that shit. Okay, I told you guys from day one what was gonna happen. Okay, it was a rigged fight. Anybody who understands the politics of boxing knew what was gonna happen. They knew that there was gonna be some fuckery involved, and that no matter what Sergey Kovalev or anybody else did, he was never walking out of there with that victory. It didn't matter what he did, didn't matter what transpired in the ring. Um, he was up against four guys in that ring. He was up against three judges and a referee. We know how it is now. I don't need to keep going over this. Okay, I've already spoken about it in previous videos, but what this video is going to be about, and some of the things I wanted to talk about is, this is an issue that European boxers in particular need to take note of. I hope that a lot of European boxers watch this video because I really would like a lot of them to listen to this because it's very important. Guys like Sergey Kovalev, Golovkin, all these other guys who think that they need to go over to America in order to have successful careers. What they need to do is they need to listen to some of these older European fighters from the past who had a lot of success. I've mentioned people like Joe Calzaghe, for example, Sven Otke, Felix Sturm, the Klitschko brothers, although they did travel quite a bit, but they built up their name in Europe, which is the point I'm trying to make. But you see, a lot of European fighters nowadays seem to think that the only way they're ever going to make any serious money or build any serious legacy in the sport is if they become big in America. It's like somebody in their management team tells them, you got to have your name in lights in Vegas. In America, you got to be a big name over there. You've got to be, you the only way you're going to be a box office draw or anything like that is if you go over to the States. It's like all these fighters' dream is to go over to the States. And I used to be around boxing gyms and that when I lived in Nottingham, and you would always hear a lot of the competitive amateurs talking about how one day they'd love to fight in America, they'd love to fight in Vegas and shit like that because that's where all the money is. And the point is, you have fighters in this country, for example, like Joe Calzaghe. He is a prime example. Joe Calzaghe, he never went over to America until his second to last fight. He went over to America then, and he brought over something like 7,000 fans with him because he already had built up his name in the UK. Okay, he was a major success over here, a box office success. For example, when he fought Jeff Lacey in, I believe it was March 2006, something like that. I've got the fight on DVD and I remember it too. He was a massive name in the UK already, and he was already quite well known in America, even though he'd never fought there, because every single American contender that came over to fight him got their fucking asses whooped. That was the kind of success Joe Calzaghe had fighting all over the UK because he never just stayed in one place in the UK. He would fight in Scotland, he would fight in like Newcastle, Wales. He fought in he actually fought in Germany a couple of times too. He went over there to fight Mario Vaya. I remember that. So Joe Calzaghe, he was a guy who he never went over to America, even though there was several tempting offers. There was an incentive to go over there because you had people like Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins, but he never had to. And that's the reason he never went over there, because he was already making money in the UK. He was, starting to become popular. He was on talk shows and all that. He was building up a legacy. He was undefeated. He was unifying titles. He became undisputed super middleweight champion without ever going over to the States. And there's other fighters too. I mentioned Sven Otke earlier in the video. He's a guy who was a unified world champion, undefeated, beat everybody he ever fought. Unified, I believe it was 2 belts he won. He had all but one fight in his career was in Germany, and he was selling out big arenas over there. Made a ton of money in his career. He fought like 4 times a year, something like that. and there was loads of money involved because over in Germany the TV networks and the promoters pay really well, which is why a lot of European fighters tend to go over there to stage their careers. So it's been done before, okay? You don't have to go over to America to be a success, okay? I'm sure if he did go over to America, he probably would have get robbed. I mean, look at what happened to Felix Sturm, for example. I mean, I know everybody wants to say that Germany's corrupt and you can't get a decision over there, which is total bullshit, and I'll break that down in a separate video. But Felix Sturm, for example, he won the WBO middleweight title years ago, and after winning his title and defending it once, he went over to Las Vegas to fight the hype job Oscar De La Hoya, who was a fucking trash fighter. I don't care what anyone says. I personally think Oscar De La Hoya, from fights that I've watched of his, obviously I was a young guy back then, but watching Oscar De La Hoya's fights online, I think he was completely overrated, a complete hype job in my opinion. He lost several fights, and he went over there, schooled Oscar De La Hoya, exposed him, beat the shit out of him, jabbed his fucking head off for 12 rounds, won every single fucking round without even breaking a sweat. It was easy peasy. He was getting really cocky later on in the fight because of how easy it was. He schooled him, he pulverized him, and he probably could have stopped him had he put his foot on the gas, but he ended up getting robbed. I mean, every single judge gave the decision to Oscar De La Hoya. So what did Felix Sturm do? He went back over to Germany, fought the rest of his career at home in Germany, never went to the States again. And by the end of his career, he was able to, well, not even by the end of his career, midway through his career, he had a TV deal over there. He became his own promoter. He was the biggest box office star over there in boxing. He had a ton of financial success, owned his own gym, everything. The guy was doing really well. He was a star over there and a 5-time world champion. So it's been done several times, okay? You don't have to go over to America in order to be financially secure. You don't have to go over there to be a success. I mean, more examples of this is, of course, Alexander Povetkin from Russia. He gets huge crowds for his fights. He's a big success over in Russia, and he spent the majority of his career in Germany marketing himself. So obviously, not going to America for his career didn't harm his market value at all. This is what European fighters today need to learn from, and I know that I'm rambling a bit and I'm kind of freestyling with this video, and you might think I'm just talking shit, but no, this is true. European fighters need to look at situations like that and those guys, and they need to learn that they're not going to get any support whatsoever in America. Okay, if you go over to America and you fight an undefeated golden boy over in America, and funnily enough, Oscar De La Hoya, who was a gold medalist, he was nicknamed the Golden Boy because that's what he was. And it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to get a decision, you're never going to get a victory. They're going to screw you over, and it's going to damage your legacy, and it's going to damage your market value, as it has with Kovalev, because the media in America have done absolutely everything they can to destroy Kovalev's image, trying to label him a racist, trying to label him a thug and a murderer and all that shit they talk about him. They did everything they could in order to justify stealing his titles and robbing him twice, because obviously, they had to make him out to be a villain, even though the real villain in the situation is the scumbag, cheating piece of shit Andre Ward, who can't go through a single fight without A-side advantages and illegal tactics. Okay, there's tons of videos out there exposing the fuckery with Andre Ward. Okay, I've got a highlight video on my channel showing you some of his illegal tactics. A great channel too has an even better video. Solaris, his name is. Check out his channel. He has an even better video on Andre Ward's tactics, and go and check him out. Andre Ward, he's the biggest cheating piece of shit in the history of boxing, and I'm not gonna complain about it because I knew that it was gonna happen. I told you guys it was gonna happen, so I'm not gonna complain about it. But it is what it is, and I just think that European boxers in general need to take note of this, and they need to realize, look, going over to America isn't going to make us more successful. It isn't going to get us more money than when we would get fighting at home. I mean, look, Vasyl Lomachenko and Usyk and guys like that, they're trying to build themselves in America, but they're never going to be big stars in America because they're because they're European. I mean, Gennady Golovkin, it's great that he's able to sell Madison Square Garden and stuff like that and get a lot of support. But he's never going to get support in terms of the politics. I mean, he's going in to fight Canelo Alvarez next. And no matter what he does, he's going to lose that fight. I'm telling you guys right now. I'm telling you guys right now. I know some of you think he's going to win. He's not going to win that fight, okay? I'll bet anything on it, alright? Canelo is going to win that fight, whether he wins it legitimately or not. Doesn't matter. He's the golden boy in this situation, okay? He's Oscar De La Hoya's fucking bitch, okay? He's going to win the fight, no matter what happens. Being an Eastern European in America, you are never going to get the support you need. I still, right now, as I speak, I'm shocked that they gave Golovkin the decision against Danny Jacobs, because even though he won the fight and won the fight pretty clearly, it was a situation where he didn't look as dominant as usual and he didn't bust the guy up like he usually does. So the judges in America would usually have used that as an opportunity to rob him, especially since it was in Jacobs' hometown. But you know, you shouldn't tempt fate twice. That's what I would say to Gennady Golovkin. Don't tempt fate twice and put yourself in that position again where you could get robbed. I mean, it didn't happen last time. I mean, I'm sure he's thanking God that he never got robbed, but they're gonna rob him against Canelo if he wins. I mean, what can he do? What can he do to win? Like I said, Felix Sturm pulverized Oscar De La Hoya and made him look like an absolute bum in the ring. Made him look like a fucking chump. Schooled him. Won every round. Made him look like it was like a man against a boy. It was like a big middleweight beating up a little fat fucking welterweight. That's what the fight was. Oscar De La Hoya, obviously he was a good fighter at the lower divisions, but at middleweight he was a hype job. Okay, he was a bum, and they basically kept him. You know, they kept his record fresh and gave him that WBO belt in order to feed him to Hopkins, to give Hopkins an easy victory, because it was a big fight and a stage fight at that. And they were never going to let Sturm win. It didn't matter what he did. You know, he pulverized De La Hoya, and they never gave him the victory. I mean, people complain when fighters like Sturm get close decisions in Germany that could go either way. I mean, you look at Sturm's fight against Martin Murray, for example. That was a very close fight. Could have gone either way, and the judges scored it a draw. Now, if Germany was so corrupt and so scandalous with decisions, why did they give it a draw? Why didn't they just give the hometown guy the decision? It was in Sturm's hometown. They could have easily given him the decision. No one would have batted an eye, and they didn't. I mean, recently, Demetrius Andrade went over to Germany and fought Jack Colke, who's the German WBA champion. And it was a competitive fight. I had Andrade winning the fight. I predicted he would win the fight too. The fight went how I expected, but it was a close fight, a competitive fight. A lot of the rounds, Andrade was ineffective. He was hurt a couple of times, and you could have easily, if you'd scorn it, looking at it through a biased perspective in the home fighter's favour, feeding off the crowd, you could have easily given that fight to Colke. But the judges gave Andrade the decision. Well, two of the judges gave Andrade the decision. So, and they were all neutral judges too, appointed by the WBA. So, where is the corruption? Please, somebody tell me why Germany. But look, that's a separate video, okay? I'll do a separate video on the absolute fucking nonsense that people come up with in regards to European judging and particularly with Germany, because that's where the reputation is. You know, I'll do a separate video on that. But yeah, European fighters, you need to stay the fuck away from America, man. You're not gonna get nothing over there. It's only a matter of time before Lomachenko gets robbed. I mean, if they stick him in the ring with Gervonta Davis or someone like that, don't get me wrong, he'd fucking kill Gervonta Davis. But give it a couple of years when Gervonta Davis is, hyped up to stardom, as all these American fucking hype jobs are, or if he's in the ring with Terence Crawford or somebody like that. Doesn't matter what Lomachenko does. Eventually, they're going to find a reason to rob him. And, he's not going to get the support he needs. Same with people like Usyk and that. You know, go back to Ukraine and fight there. Okay, why not? Why not? I mean, Usyk was getting quite a lot of success when he was fighting in Ukraine earlier in his career. So I don't quite understand why he's trying to market himself in America. It doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, I'm rambling a bit with this video. I didn't really say everything I wanted to say. You know, fuck it. Last night was a travesty, guys. It really was. It was an absolute travesty, an absolute stain on boxing. I didn't watch the Rigondeaux fight because I'm not interested in Rigondeaux. He's a C-class fighter at best. I mean, I was watching one of Rigondeaux's fights a couple of months ago against that guy. I can't remember his name, Cordoba or something like that. I don't know how you pronounce the guy's name, but the guy dropped him and took him the distance, and he also got dropped a couple of times by some guy rated in the fucking bottom 100 from Japan. Rigondeaux, in my opinion, is a trash fighter, and the guy he was fighting, that Chucky Flores, was fucking. Oh, I could beat that guy. I'm not even kidding. His punch technique was fucking dreadful when he was just had no defense. He was just a scrub with a padded record against bums. So I wasn't interested in that fight. Never made a video, nothing. And yeah, I didn't watch it either. But I heard it was controversial. I don't know what it was. It ended in a round, didn't it? But there was something controversial about it. Apparently, I don't know. Fuck it. But anyway, European fighters learn from successful European fighters who built up their records in their homeland, basically, or in Europe. So let me know what you guys think anyway. What do you guys think of my video? Do you think I'm talking shit? Do you think I just have sour grapes? I don't have any sour grapes. I told you guys this was going to happen, okay? I don't like Andre Ward. He's a piece of shit. He's a cheater. You know, he's a disgrace to boxing. I've supported him in the past because he beat other people who I don't like Carl Froch, for example. But you know, Andre Ward, man, I think the people who support him have serious psychological issues. I do, because for you to support a man that is deeply disturbed like that, I mean, a guy that is just so self-entitled and so scandalous with everything he does. I mean, just cheating through his entire career, building an entire career on fouls and illegal tactics. I know that Vladimir Klitschko leans. I know that Bernard Hopkins uses illegal tactics, and a lot of fighters in the past, even Salido and guys like that. I know that there are a lot of dirty fighters in boxing, but Andre Ward is a guy who has built an entire legacy, an entire career, all the way from the amateurs, on fouling his way through every single fucking contest he's involved in. It's sickening, and how anybody that supports that, in my opinion, is just some kind of degenerate. You would have to be. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. This video's gone on too long. I didn't want it to be this long. Thanks for watching.